I am so excited to be filming again right now. I haven't filmed for forever, which I think you can probably tell. But yeah, I'm back and this is exciting because I've finished school as well, so I have time to dedicate to books that I want to dedicate time to, and yeah, this is exciting. So hi everyone, so because I'm back after that little bit, I have planned to do like a little mini series thing on my channel before I really get into making normal videos again, which is going to be talking about all the books that I've read this year so far, because I wanted to get back into making videos, but I didn't want to just sort of discard the rest of them, the past few months, because I've read some really good books, so I wanted to share them with you. So I'm probably it's gonna probably be 4 parts, and it's gonna be 3 of them are wrap-ups and 1 will be a haul, which will come last, I think. So this one is going to be January and February. So I'm going to start with my January wrap-up, which is rather exciting. The first book I read in January was a poetry collection which I bought on my birthday, which was the 29th of December, and that is the Don't Touch Garden by Kate Foley. I gave it 5 stars. It has 1 rating on Goodreads, which is mine. So it's not very well known, obviously, and no one else has spoken about it on BookTube. It's based on adoption and the emotions that people have regarding related to adoption and stuff. And I really liked it. It was really short. I read it in the day. I really enjoyed it, gave it 5 stars, and I would recommend it if you're looking for a poetry collection to read, especially on the theme of adoption. The next 4 that I read are ebooks, which I had for review, but I've screenshotted the cover image of them so I can show you on my iPad, which is what I read them on. The first one that I read of these is Worlds of Ink and Shadow by Lena Coakley. This I gave 4 stars, and it's about the Bronte sisters and brother, and it's a historical fiction fantasy YA novel, and I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really creative. I could see that the author had done really good research into how the characters would have been, and I felt they were very accurate to how I kind of imagined the Brontes were, with Emily being a bit wilder and Charlotte being more prim and proper, for want of a better description. I really like this. I don't remember masses about them, I must confess, but I have done a full review of this on my blog, which I will obviously link below, so you'll be able to find it on there. The next one I read was Firsts by Laurie Elizabeth Flynn, which I really like. This is about a girl, Mercedes I want to say her name is, don't quote me on that because I cannot remember, and she takes she is all the guys at her school's first time, so to speak, but I think it's more complex than that. At first I read it and I was like, oh, this is a really shallow book. It's not. It's going to be interesting because I like contemporary books, but at the same time it's going to be quite shallow. But it wasn't, and there was a lot to Mercedes' character that was really interesting and well thought out, and I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars, and I would recommend this highly. I really enjoyed this. The 4th book I read in January was This Raging Light by Estelle Law. This is about a girl whose parents suddenly take off. Well, I think her dad's already gone, but her mom suddenly takes off, leaving her with her little sister, and then suddenly she has to make do and start looking after her sister and getting a job and running the house basically as an adult would, but she's got school, she's a teenager, and obviously there's a romance because it's contemporary YA, and where would that be without romance? I gave it 4 stars, and I would recommend this highly. I think quite a lot of people have talked about this one. The 5th book that I read was Beside Myself, by Anne Morgan. I did not like this book very much. I didn't like any of the characters. I didn't like this plotline very much. I thought the premise was really good, and I really liked the idea behind it, but the characters were just drove me insane, and I forced myself to finish this. I gave it 2 stars because I can see the merit in the premise, and I quite enjoyed that bit. And there were bits which I enjoyed, but they were definitely in the minority. It's meant to be a thriller, but it wasn't really as tense as a thriller was. The narration I found to be quite confusing, as it was alternating between now and years before, but it wasn't very clear, and yeah, this book wasn't for me, but I can see like the merit in it, if that makes sense, but just I didn't like it very much. So the 6th book that I read in January was Between Shades of Grey by Rita Sepetys. But I gave this book 5 stars, but because I just loved the story. I loved like learning about something I knew nothing about, and I thought it was well written. I loved the characters. This book was amazing, and I would highly recommend it to anyone really, because it was just so good and I really liked it. The only problem I had with it though was that the writing I found too simplistic for some of the events in the book. Like, there were truly atrocious things happening and they were put so simply, but not in the way that it had. Like, it was, I don't know, sometimes I think simple can really be effective with big events, but I just think this was sort of underdone, and better underdone than overdone, I will say that, but I just felt that there could have been more, and it could have been, I don't know, I just felt that the writing at times was lacking something, and it was just too simplistic. It was too harsh, the events for the writing just, yeah, it didn't match. But this book was fantastic, and despite those little instances, I would highly recommend this to pretty much everyone really. Next book I read was also 5 stars, and it was Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I love adult dystopian, like Good 1984. It's just one of my favourite all-time books. The firemen in the future, basically their sole job is to burn books. It's like a crime to keep books. You're not supposed to read, everyone's supposed to be just doing what they're told. And the main character in this book, Guy Montag, he actually has stolen books and he's hiding them, and he is a fireman. And it's sort of about him sort of realising that actually burning books isn't a good thing. It's not like the right thing to be doing, which is what obviously he's being told. You've got to burn these books. You're not supposed to like have books. I gave this 5 stars. It's really quite short. Obviously you can see I liked a lot of the quotes in it. I would highly recommend this book. It was just fabulous. The next book I read was also fabulous, and I did review this on my blog. This is In a Land of Paper Gods by Rebecca Mackenzie. I got sent this for review from Tinder Press. It was just amazing. I fell in love with it, and I just really enjoyed this. It's about a girl called Etta, and it's set in China in 1941 it starts out. She is the child of missionaries. It's hard to explain this book because so much happens. It's just such a wonderful story, and I would highly recommend this. The writing was amazing, and I absolutely adored this book, and I think everybody should read it because it was amazing. And yeah, the final book that I read in January was All the Words Are Yours by Tyler Knott Gregson. Tyler Knott Gregson is just amazing, and I have no words to describe how much I love his poetry. This is haiku, and it's really pretty. Like, all the like pages are those glossy sort of magazine filled pages, and they're on images, and it's just such a pretty book. And the writing in it, I don't normally go for love poetry either, so this is like everything I don't like in a book, and it's just amazing. It's just so natural. It's not over the top like love poetry can be. It's just pure emotion, and I gave it 5 stars. I keep forgetting to say the rating of this. So now I'm on to the books that I read in February. So the first book that I read in February was Keep the Aspidistra Flying by George Orwell. I could go on all day about how much I love George Orwell's work. This is the 3rd book of his I've read. Really enjoyed this, apart from the fact that the characters did get on my nerves a bit. Gordon Comstock is not the most nice of characters. That's a really bad way of saying it. He's not the best of characters. It holds an important message, and I like most of Orwell's work does, to be fair. And I gave this 4.5 stars because I preferred 1984 of his, so that's why I deducted like 0.5 of a star, because I know that I prefer some of his other books more. I then read Prisoner of Night and Fog by Anne Blankman. This is about a girl called Gretchen, and she is in Hitler's inner circle, but then she falls in love with a Jew, and obviously it goes from there, like how her attitude completely changes when she realises that Jews aren't basically what Hitler has been making them out to be, which is like evil and all that. I gave this 4 stars. I then did a terrible thing and reread 4 of the 12 book series, which is the House of Night series. And I read Marked, Betrayed, Chosen and Untamed. And I love this series, but I'm going to be honest right now and say, if I picked this up now for the first time, chances are I wouldn't like it. I first picked this up in year 7, so that would have been 7 years ago. More, just over 7 years ago. I think it's fair to say that I would not enjoy these now because the writing isn't the best. Let's go and be honest, the writing isn't that great. And the characters are very annoying. But well, they're not annoying to me because I love them. Them all 5 stars except Chosen, which I gave 4 or 4.5, I cannot remember. Second to last book that I am going to mention in this wrap up is Come Close by Sappho, which is one of the Penguin Little Black classics. And it's just a collection of like her poetry, so you can see it's like really short. It was such a quick read and I really liked this. I really like ancient Greece, and I'm not just talking about the whole mythology thing. I just like Greece. I like how I find their society very interesting in that they were so advanced to how we are. We sort of regressed in our views. Like, they were way more accepting. They looked at who you are, how you acted, and then made a judgment on you rather than something you identified by. The philosophers, Greek philosophers, were my favourites, like Plato and Aristotle. I really enjoyed this. You can see how good their society was in her poems. They are based on love, and I believe they were to another woman because, as I said, they were ahead of their time and then we sort of went backwards. I gave this 4.5 stars. I read Somewhere in Between by Katie Lee. I got sent this for review. A girl and a boy, for one thing, who meet, and there is a romance, and they used to know each other, and then they moved away, and then they moved back. And there was always this place they used to go to. Every time it used to change. It used to be like a seed once, and then a park or a fairground or whatever. I didn't really take to it. Like, it was interesting, it was a fun read, it was a quick read, but nothing really grabbed me about it. So I gave this 3. That's it for the books that I read in January and February of this year. As you can tell, I have read quite a few good ones actually. Like, if you've read any of these books, like them, just got an opinion on them, feel free to tell me in the comments below and I will see you next time. Bye!